Okay, let's get started here. Greetings, everyone. Today's SRLJC meeting. Usually at the beginning of this, we take up to 15 minutes of time for public comment. As a reminder, there's a 3-minute limit for individuals. Speakers should address matters which are within the powers of the duties of the SRLJC. Speakers should also identify themselves and address the chair. Council members will not engage in a dialogue with the speakers. If you'd like to comment and have not done so, send a chat to the admin assistant. She will give you a speaker announcer and a speaker number and announce when it's your turn to speak. So I will open it now. Do you have any public comment? Any online, any in the chat? All right. Second call for any comments or any of those that wish to be speak to the council. All right, third and last call for any public comment. Okay, well, I'll close the public comment part and we'll move on to our agenda. First matter of business is the adoption of the minutes. Do I have a motion to adopt the minutes from the last meeting?
I'll make that motion to adopt.
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. Any opposed? All right, I have a first and a second. The motion carries and we'll adopt the minutes. Okay, moving into the agenda. Today, primarily, as you know, we've been discussing the body of work of what the SRLJC has and some point of direction on which we could all kind of get the collective input from all of the members that are involved with it. And so what I'd asked the group to do is to kind of look through the list with the blueprint of reform and then see what there's some priorities, look and see what is doable, what isn't doable out of blueprint of reform. Provide me some feedback so I have something that I could talk off of when I do report out on the blueprint of reform. And then secondly, create a list of top 3 for your department, which you feel is important. It should rise up and you'd like to see this committee work on some of those efforts in moving forward. And so taking the top 3 and the input that I've gotten back, and I'm going to apologize in advance. I left the clerk's office off of this list, and I'm humbly apologizing to Tim at this moment right now, but he did make some inputs. From the input that I received, I created, or you'll see, kind of a sheet that has the top priorities on it, not by whether or not they are the absolute top priority, but by the number of times it was talked about in the number of top 3 that were suggested by everyone. So clearly on the top is staffing, retention, and training. That led it by a landslide, obviously, and all of us are struggling with staffing. I know we're 33 short over at the jail right now. It's an ongoing problem and things that we need to work through to try to create opportunity for more staff, better retention efforts and those type of things. And so really in this body of work, I felt that was probably more appropriately located with our human resources department and some efforts that we'll work with them and suggestions on how to recruit, retention, and those type of things for each of our department. But it clearly is their body of work. So I'm going to turn that one over to HR along with our comments and input on a continued basis. The second is that rose to the top was the Community Correction Center. This is an element of the proposal for the new jails, the Community Correction Center. It more appropriately lands in my office with the Office of Law and Justice. I will report out on that. But what is on the inside of the Community Correction Center really what matters? What's the sentencing alternatives for the judge? What can we have available for them, whether it's inpatient treatment, whether it's community-facing services that are brought into the Community Correction Center, some of those type of things. So I will operate on the Community Correction Center and getting some of those questions. The third one that rose up was the diversion programs, and I think Sheriff Mills had also been a supporter of this. What do those look like? What are diversion programs? What do we see around the country? What can we bring back to Spokane? Definitely expanding mental health courts and treatment. Rose to the top. Again, those are things that we should focus our attention on. How can we expand upon what we have right now, the Crisis Stabilization Center? How can we expand on some of those efforts? The racial and equity training, I think, is a big one. It also had 3, and then the therapeutic courts. So I kind of just combined these kind of things together to try to create some kind of a focus group that we could move forward with. Again, if you go to the boxes with the layout of the groups, it's the 3rd slide. It's the development of the top 3 priorities. Again, staff retention, training. Staff will go to human resources. I'll be working on the community corrections center and the supported release. That was also brought up in some of the recommendations. But I need some volunteers to be involved with these focus groups, and there's 4 of them. The first focus group is investigating and recommending best practices for diversion and or justice intervention programs. What Medea has done for each of these is she has combined binders to get us started on some of these, and it has involved with them. Sandy or Randy just got her 3 updates. We'll fill those in for you, Randy. And so a group that's focused around that. The second one is the focus group of inventory and the mental health services, investigating options, develop a strategy to link services together. I think that there's some opportunity for us to connect our services with the VHO, what's involved, the jail mental health, crisis stabilization, having a system that talks across all the touch points. And so I'd really like to see someone who focus some attention on that one as well. And then number 3 is research and develop curriculum along with best practices on racial and equity training and awareness. What is the best practices? How can we bring that to Spokane and be involved with some of those? And then the last one is developing strategies around therapeutic courts, which was a lot of your list, along with drug and alcohol alternatives and treatment. So the goal would be is that if I could get volunteers to kind of help with these focus groups to meet together. And the thing with the bylaws, it points out that when you're in a focus group, there has to be a person that's point. There also has to be minutes taken. And then what would happen is the point person would come back to the SRLJC and report out on those groups. I know it sounds like an investment in time, which none of us really have, but I think it's worthwhile for us to kind of start moving some of these priorities forward. My goal would be to have a comprehensive strategy plan that we could present to the Board of County Commissioners that shows that it's a collaborative effort, and that we'd like to see the funds be allocated to these certain functions. And maybe it's one more therapeutic court that we bring back to Spokane. Maybe it's 2 diversion programs that we discovered that work well. Components of the mental health department that could be improved upon. And then some of those areas. So I'm open for a conversation right now. That's kind of where the methodology is leading us. I just would take you guys' input at this point. And don't all talk at once.
I was gonna say with district court, we pretty much have a pretty robust therapeutic court with drug, alcohol, mental health, and veterans court. And also combined with this is municipal court as well. So as far as elaborating on that or expanding it to Superior Court, and I believe I'm not sure what you.
Well, it's not very visible. We have them. We all know we have them, but it's not very visible to the Board of County Commissioners. The structure of it, how it's laid out, where we could use some more staffing. How another therapeutic court, right? We could bring in that we've overlooked. So I would like to have somebody kind of DB. Yeah, you brought that up last meeting. And how does that look? What does it look like? So that we can get it recommended and start looking at some of those things. So I think that if we don't call attention to the things that are important to us, they're going to be overlooked.
I think DV court is pretty important. Right now, Superior Court level, we're doing 44 protection orders today. I'd ask to work through the ex parte court. We also have DV docket, DV court protection orders. So
I think
I
it's,
think it's a focus area, I really do, because, you know, the danger here is that, you know, so much is done right, but the one time you make a mistake, or the one time an order is not transmitted correctly or sent to the proper people, and something bad happens, and, you know, that's my biggest fear.
well, it's been the same way for the jail, you know, if the jail's not on fire, no one really thinks about it, but, you know, they don't know that they're probably saving 4 to 5 people a month, you know, from overdosing on drugs and those type of things. We gotta bring visibility, that's what I'm hoping from this group, is to bring visibility to what we're doing, how the systems are working, so that that board can actually take a look at it. Because I think they'll get behind investing dollars and stuff if they see the efforts that were, and there is a ton of stuff going on, like you're saying, with therapeutic work. But is there anybody that would like to get to focus on the therapeutic courts and those drug alternatives together?
Yeah, I'll do that one.
Can you-
I have a question about the wording here. I don't see diversionary tactics in any of our boxes, and I think it goes into. Maybe I'm not reading them right.
That's good.
Look at
point.
Roger, look at Roger, John.
Number one?
Yeah, that was, I know Sheriff Knowles was.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna need to kind of record these names, idea who's going into these groups. And then on this therapeutic courts, we did looking around, all you guys, you guys can kind of look through it. Already got a start on it, you know, some of the practices that are out in the country, can look at them, we can look through, see if we got anything we need to duplicate, some things that we're overlooking, and then really kind of bringing together all 3 courts on what's our offer, what are we offering, what are we doing, how many are going through our courts, make it visible on what we're doing is good work on that part of it.
Okay, looks like Justin Bingham wants to be volunteer,
In the therapeutic courts.
and Katie McNulty.
Okay.
I'm trying, for some reason, it's not letting me upgrade him to a panelist.
So let's just go and scroll down on that tab right there. So we have it. Yeah, there's some, I read through, I kind of looked through those, there's some good stuff in those. I was like, good job, yeah. Yeah, New York model, there's some other models in there. Yeah. So there's, and you guys can make copies of that.
That would be great. I mean, that's a lot of.
You guys can figure out who's carrying it or who's gonna be the one that's gonna report out on it. All right.
Hey,
So-
Mike, if you would look at the chat, you'd see that a couple of us have volunteered to do some things.
Okay.
So I volunteered to help out with diversion, race equity, and Katie's volunteered to help out with diversion and therapeutic courts. So
Okay,
maybe
just
somebody could keep an eye on the screen.
All right, we're trying to get back over this. The screen is moving kind of slow today, Justin, trying to. And then it's for you all to decide when you meet. It just, you know, exchange emails and whatever you want to get together and meet on those type of things. I know focus group 1, I know you're very interested in, Aaron,
Yeah,
on the diversion side of it.
yeah, we're running a diversion program now on the felony side. Of course, municipal and district have their different prosecution program, so and different labels for similar idea. We're of course looking to expand ours and get our numbers up, so I'd be happy to be part of that.
Anyone, and I'll look at the comments on here, but anybody else want to be involved with the diversion efforts, the front end efforts? Sheriff Knowles, did you have somebody who would help on that effort on the front end diversion side of it, or?
Yeah, if I would actually not mind helping with that myself.
That'd be fantastic. Your leadership on that would be really good. So, okay, are you writing these down? It's kind of like an auction. It's like an auction. People are coming in.
Oh, okay. No.
All right, so Justin Bingham.
There you go.
I see Diane Lindquist is also on here. I'm hoping that she kind of dives into, at least on the focus group number 2, Diane, for working with some of those information systems and the integration of some of those. All right, you got it? There we go. Did you want to say something, Randy? Yeah, she got her hand up.
Yeah, we're a little further away from when I originally put my hand up, but I can't really hear the conversation. But I'm not sure you're aware that we are working in conjunction with the prosecutor's office and the DV coalition to establish a therapeutic court for domestic violence. We were awarded a 3-year grant through our agency.
So, yeah, did you jump on that group?
Well, I'd like to be on that group, but I also wanted to make all of you aware that that was something that we are actually right in the middle of hiring some positions for and getting that court established.
Yeah, it certainly won't hold up that progress. It's just, it's good because I wasn't aware of it, Randy, and it looks like the judge wasn't aware of it either. So any information you can provide on that would be helpful.
Absolutely.
I don't know if Katie has that information or not, but.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to that briefly. It would be in Superior Court, so it's not a district court program as far as I am aware. And I know they've been working on it, I mean, for almost the last year, trying to get all the pieces in play to do a felony level DV court. So my office has been working on that. I am not the contact person for that, but I can definitely get in touch with that person. Or answer any other questions. But I mean, I think if we're going to be doing these work groups, especially on therapeutic courts and diversion, it's going to be really important not just to have my office, but also the public defenders or counsel for defense, and also who would be supervising those courts, because, you know, we can talk theoretically about a lot of great things, but if we don't have the players on the same page, it's kind of useless in my mind.
Okay, agreed. Yeah. I was trying to look for a way to not hem everybody into every focus group, but I certainly understand the importance of inclusion to try to come out with something that's a good, best product on it. So, okay, where are we at? How about the racial inequity? I know, Justin, you had said that you want to be a part of that.
I believe Colin also volunteered for that.
Oh, okay. And then, so Katie, just a question of clarification. It doesn't necessarily have to be Colin, but maybe when these groups are a little bit more focused, they could have somebody or appoint somebody from their office to be a part of it, kind of what you were thinking too for the prosecutors.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that would be super helpful. I just know, you know, Colin and I have both kind of inherited different pieces of work that previous people in our administration have tried to put together. And I know for me personally, it's just a little bit frustrating because I think whoever's going to be ultimately kind of responsible for these programs should be at these inception talks, because otherwise you end up spending just a bunch of time putting something together. And then when you try to actually implement it, no one's on the same page. And it just seems like we're kind of trying to reinvent the wheel continuously.
Yeah.
So I just know personally, I've done a lot of talks on potential diversion ideas, but if we're not all kind of at the table, it doesn't work in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't see anybody here from Superior Court. At least it's on today. So, okay, good point. I'll as we work forward, I'll flesh out some of those, Katie. Just
Okay.
Those things are going to come together. All right. What about on the mental health services? Is there anybody that I see that? Yeah, Colin wants to be involved with that part of it too. Okay. Anyone else want to be involved with that part of it? Or a dedicated person to that, those efforts to look at it. I'm going to reach out to the Amelia Weeks from the Crisis Stabilization Center, and also Christy Ray and hers group, the jail, we kind of come together for those portions of it too. So maybe that would be my starting point, see if we could generate some more interest around that part of it. And then I guess the last one is the research and develop, no, let's see, what was the last one? Or did I get them all? There's only 4. I think,
Thank you, Jared. I have a comment on the racial equity awareness for Justin and Colin. It would be nice if they would be able to reach out to somebody who is involved or used to be involved in racial equity committee. We don't have a community representative appointed for our at-large racial equity chair on this council, and so there needs to be community representation with regard to that. I know you agree with that. I'm going to throw out Curtis Hampton's name. I haven't talked to him about it, but I'm sure he could, if he's not able to do it, he would have somebody he could suggest. I do it myself. I've got family medical issues that are coming to the forefront, and so I really only have time to do one focus.
I agree with you, John. That work group, if it doesn't have community in it, it's essentially worthless to even participate in. So I totally agree with you on that.
I appreciate it.
so what if from this, I just take the list of names that we have right now and just kind of pull them together, and then I'll make some other contacts, additional contacts that I
That
think
would be
could be
great.
in
I
the group.
appreciate it.
We'll start there kind of with what we have right now and then see if we can. And maybe we focus on the diversion program. Maybe that comes our area of expertise. If everybody has to be involved with it, they have opportunity to be in one of the focus groups. So, thoughts, suggestions? What do you-
Well, I agree with Katie on the diversion programs. I mean, it involves so many different people at the table and parties to make those work adequately that you do have to have everybody involved.
So do you think, just a thought, instead of having 4 focus groups, we focus on one of these at a time? Or do you think we could do like a couple at a time? Or given the involvement of the level of people that have to be involved with it?
Well, I said at the last meeting, we got to move forward on this stuff. I mean, I really think we need to give as much information as possible to the county commissioners so they have tools to operate with. So
No, I agree.
I know that's a lot of work, but this is an advisory council and things are changing fast or moving forward fast. And we got to be ready come November when the vote comes. I don't want to be political about it in here, but I want my county commissioners to have the tools that they need to work with. And it's gonna, some of those tools are going to come right from this council. And so,
I think we do have a pretty robust therapeutic board. It's just a matter of, like you said, advertising it. So it's not starting from scratch, so to speak. So it's just a matter of being able to advertise it more and add in the DV component. So
Right,
it's
yeah, I
not
think-
starting from baseline versus diversion programs. Yes, there's more programs that could be implemented that we will have to start more at baseline.
I think Katie's point was important about DV court, because we have an entire protection order program in place. But I need to make sure that my folks that do all that stuff are aware of what the DV court can do with that. So I'll be contacting these folks after this meeting here to kind of get a feel for that.
Okay.
But I do think we have a robust therapeutic work program. We need to get it.
All right, thoughts, anybody else thoughts? On moving forward, do you think that we take it a chunk at a time? Do you think that we break it out like with 4 focus groups, or we pull it together and all have concerted efforts at one effort? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Mike, I agree with what John said. I mean, we've sort of just meandered around for the last couple of years, not really doing much. We have to actually do this work. And my fear is if you do one at a time, if that group gets bogged down you'll never get to 2, 3, or 4.
Any other comment? Colin?
Yeah, Mike, I agree. I think we need to do them all simultaneously, especially given the time constraint. If we want to have answers ready for November, then we need to start doing it now. I also agree with Katie's point earlier. Quite frankly, I'll volunteer for all 4. I think we have to have the people that are going to be involved in the process at those meetings, or we're not getting anywhere. So.
Were you gonna say something, Katie?
Yeah.
You're on mute.
Just trying to figure it out.
Sorry, guys, I'm out at a training, so I'm in my car, so the Zoom is not optimal. But I mean, I think based on, Colin's comment, I'm willing to be on all 4 as well. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. I just know that, like, if we're not all involved from the ground up, we can make all the recommendations that we want. But I mean, like, for instance, and I'm just throwing this out there as an example. I mean, therapeutic courts are, the prosecutor's office is the gatekeeper, right? So if my office was like, we're not doing this, we can have a focus group till we're blue in the face. Same thing with diversion, right? I mean, if I'm going to divert charges, my office, our statutory and constitutional responsibility is the charger of criminal offenses. So if we're going to make a decision to divert crimes, again, a group can make all the recommendations that they want, but if the parties that are necessary aren't on the same page, it just seems really like futile. Luckily, I am a huge proponent of therapeutic courts. I know that Larry is as well. I also think diversion is wonderful. So we want to get involved in those conversations. I just point that out to kind of show, if we don't have the people involved that need to be involved, it just seems kind of futile. So I just want to make sure everyone who needs to be there is there, so that we can have meaningful conversations.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, so I'll just just to make sure that we're all saying the same thing, just show of hands that want to proceed with all 4 focus work groups. Okay, super. So how many do not want to go with just one at a time? Okay, unanimous. We're gonna go with the 4 focus groups. And so what we'll do from here is we'll take the names from the chat, we'll develop the groups. We'll get with someone from the group. We have a binder that you probably can't see on there, but we have binders that we've collected, Medea has collected, of just different ideas across the country and some suggestions that she's seen. She put a lot of work into it. It's just kind of stir the creative thought and some things that maybe we haven't thought about. And so we'll definitely get those to you as well. And I think what we'll do is if everyone could kind of call out a person that's going to take the charge to report back to the SRLJC, at least from that front. And maybe you wear a couple hats or one hat in one group or what have you, but just someone that's going to oversee that the minutes get done according to the bylaws, and that they're reporting back to the SRLJC. My goal is I'm giving a presentation on the 26th or the 22nd on the programming and the community corrections element of the new jail proposal. And what I want to do is include the fact that we've identified what our priorities are, the group has, and that we've identified 4 focus work groups that we're going to all collectively come together and start on those efforts. And so I think it's just a huge step forward for us, and of course, I'll be involved with whatever you want to. You need data, you just let us know, and we can dig between Diane and Aaron Land and I, we'll dig it out for you, try to find the best sources for you. So we're going to always be a resource for that part of it. And I think that's about it. Is there any other comments on it? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So, okay.
We do that May 22nd or June?
May 22nd. Yeah, it's coming right up. But this is the front end of our justice system. We represent, this group represents the front end of processes and those type of things. So I thought it was important to call out the work that you all are doing, along with some of the other programming and things that we're doing on the other end of it too. So, okay. Well, it's gonna be a short meeting. Does anybody else have anything you'd like to bring up? Justin, how was the trip to the MacArthur Foundation?
So Colin and I represented Spokane at the MacArthur All Sites meeting. We were very small but mighty. We did our panel presentation for the Uber rides. And in all honesty, there were a lot of people that came up and asked about our Uber rides program. And I think that we were able to give them quite a bit of data and context. So thank you to Diane Lindquist for creating the poster as well as all the data analysis on the program. I'm sure that Diane would have done a much better job than us, but we did the best we could. There was a lot of conversation about where the whole program is. The Safety Justice Challenge is going to wrap up in 2 years on the 2025. So they're looking really at sort of legacy at this point, and also to ensure a transition to sustainability for programs as their funding goes away. So there was not much discussion about our supervisor release, but I know that will be receiving a new, we have a new program officer, Nita Abassi, who is from the MacArthur Foundation, who's will be our representative. And Caitlin Call will be leaving us at the end of September because Vera Institute has decided to step away. So we'll be receiving a new person that does that coordination work. And Lori Grodicki was not able to tell me who that is yet, but hopefully we'll have some names soon. But it was a very good meeting. I enjoyed it. Colin, did I miss anything?
Nope, don't think so.
Good deal. Well, that's good to be able to report out it. Did they have anything that, I mean, it's unrelated to the SRLJC, but did they have any step forward that you could be able to share with me, Justin, later? And do you have any conversations about the grant and so forth?
I'm sorry, I can hardly hear you there, Mike.
Was there any other I know it's not particularly for this group, was there any conversations over the grant money or any of those types of supported release in those conversations? As well?
No, I think that that's going to have to be a conversation that you'll have with Lori and Nita in the near future about whether or not they're going to be willing to move some of our funds. I impressed on Nita the importance of getting some money over for the Uber rides, because I think it really has shown benefits, especially on the treatment side. They seem fairly open to that, but I know that that's a conversation they'll need to have with you. And my gut feeling is that they'll be calling soon to have additional conversations. But from what I was told as to additional funding through the capstone, I don't see them giving us any money at this point. We have to actually do some work on our original money towards supervised release.
Okay. So if you haven't done so, make sure that you identify what are the focus groups you want to be involved in the chat so that it's in there. Steve Bartell and Laura Padden, I wonder if you might not help me with the community corrections portion of it, if you're available to do that.
Ask that again, Mike. I didn't quite hear the question.
I was wondering if you guys would be, you and Laura Padden would be available to help me on the community corrections front and some of that planning.
Oh, absolutely, Mike. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to help too. I also signed up for the therapeutic courts.
Okay, super. Sheriff Knowles, any parting comments from you on the direction this is going and where you'd like to see it going, and just your comment?
No, I think some of this work is super important that we get going on because we waited too long.
Okay. All right. Any other comments for the good of the cause before I close the meeting? Okay, be checking your emails and I have the list. Medina will send those out. And again, we'll get these binders to you. Use them. It's just, again, information from around the country that she's gathered on some of these these programs, and then just if you could get back to me from your group, who's going to be the spokesman at the, the formal spokesman at the table here, that'd be great. Always take input from everyone else, but we really need to designate one person that's going to oversee to make sure that the meetings are occurring and that we're collecting minutes on it that, according to the bylaws. So, all right. Anything else from the table? You guys enjoy your day. You got 15 minutes back. All right. See you later.
Thanks, Mike.